Hey everyone, if you are interested in becoming a truck driver or obtaining your CDL license, stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Kiki,
And I'm Kemi.
and you're listening to
Your advisors will see you now, a podcast that will help you to figure out all of your options for life after high school. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Your Advisors Will See You Now. If you are new here, today we are talking about our Career Chats episode, where we give you insight into different careers, how to get into them, and understand what exactly it is that they do. So today, what we have is we are going to talk about becoming a truck driver, getting your CDL license. And it's a lot of good information to obtain in this episode, even just with my minor in research that we have. Today on our episode, we have Josh Barron. He is the school director and certified instructor at Midwest Truck Driving School in Escanaba, Michigan. You might have to correct me on that.
That's perfect.
And he has been in the transportation industry for over 15 years and has been a certified CDL instructor for nearly 10 years. He has an associate's degree from Bay College and a bachelor's degree from Michigan State University. His passion is helping the next generation excel and grow in their new careers. He likes spending time with his wife and 3 kids and enjoys hunting, fishing, and outdoors. Midwest Truck Driving School has been around since 1998 and is one of the oldest truck driving schools in the Midwest. Midwest Truck Driving School teaches Class A CDL, Class B CDL, school bus, passenger, doubles, triples, tanker, and hazardous materials. And we're all going to dive into that today because we want you to have the information, and I'm very interested. But thank you, Josh, for being on our episode today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. And even just by your bio, you have such a great backstory. So I guess I can just start with, how did you get into the world of CDL? What piqued your interest to come and work in this?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So kind of out of high school, I was one of those guys that didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I've always loved to learn, and I've always been a hands-on learner, kind of a kinesthetic learner, and had some people that said, you know what? Yeah, at the time, I didn't really feel like college was for me. Later on, it was. I think I had to mature a little bit at the time, and so they had talked about, well, why don't you get your CDL? And so I got my CDL right out of high school, and I drove for a few different companies, and I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fact that you're kind of like by yourself out there, but you can pick up the phone to help with your dispatcher or your safety manager. I like the fact that you can kind of, the harder you work, the more money you can make and the more loads you can haul and different things. And it was just one of those occupations that I really enjoyed. And so after about 4 or 5 years of doing this, it was something that I enjoyed and I loved it. But like I said, I've always been a huge proponent of education, and so I wanted to go back to school. And so that's when I went to Bay, got my associates, went to Michigan State to get my bachelor's degree. But there was something about kind of the transportation industry that I just loved. And so after getting my degrees, I ended up seeing an opening here at the school. And as a certified instructor, I said, you know what? That's what I want to do. I want to be able to help the next generation of people that want to get their CDLs. And so now being able to work with kids right out of high school, I'm like, 15 years ago, that was me right out of high school wanting to do this. And then I've just kind of worked up. And so I'm the school director of the school now, but I also still love to instruct. There's 10 of us certified instructors here at the school. So I still love working with the students. I still love to instruct, even though I don't do that on a daily basis. I still do it monthly, bi-monthly, where I definitely help out where I'm needed. But it's been a great journey, and it's funny how I started in the trucking industry, and here I am still in the trucking industry. But it all came down to getting my CDL. Having a CDL allows you to do so many different things, not just drive, but even when you look at the majority of safety directors in trucking companies, as well as HR managers in trucking companies. Now, who knows safety in reference to a CDL driver or a truck driver better than someone that's actually done the job? And so a lot of those individuals were previous drivers that now worked up the ranks to be able to be a safety director or a safety manager. Same thing as a dispatcher. Who knows logistics better than the guy that's actually running the loads, that's hauling the loads, that's going around the country? And so a lot of your dispatchers and your driver managers, those were previous drivers that worked up within that company. And so it's been a great journey for me. It's something now, like I said, I've been at the school for almost 10 years, and I've really kind of enjoyed my experience, and from my education to get my CDL. Well, here we are 15 years later, and I still love this industry because here I am still in it every day.
Wow. And I love that too, because it really just shows, because sometimes people, we just think we zone in, for example, like we hear just a CDL license, we think it's just a truck driver, but you've shown that there's so many pivoting points still within that transportation industry that you can definitely migrate to, which I think is really great for listeners to hear too. So you become like a teacher, and then there's other different departments to work in, which is really interesting to hear.
Yeah, it really is. And so, on that point, it's kind of interesting. A couple of the guys that I work with, I actually trained 8 years ago. And so they were in my truck. I trained them, and then they were in the industry and they drove for different companies and everything. And then when a position opened up here at the school, they're like, hey, you know what? I got my experience now, everything else. I got 200,000 saved miles, and I've had my CDL for so many years. Like I can, and so they're now instructing right alongside of me. And so that's really cool as well to see somebody that knew nothing about the truck industry. I trained them, got them their CDL. They worked for several years, and now here they are kind of coming full circle back working at the school as an instructor. So it's cool to see. And those opportunities are going to be there for anyone that gets a CDL. That's just a starting point. Who knows where you're going to end up? And that's what we were talking about earlier is a lot of people think of a CDL or think of a truck driver, just the big tractor trailers going across the country. And for a lot of our students, that's not the case. CDL is also going to be school buses and passenger buses. It's going to be your straight trucks, your road commission trucks, even people hauling propane in the straight vehicles. That's all going to be CDL. And I would say the majority of students that we have come through the school, they're getting more local type jobs where they're home every night. And the trucking is kind of broken up into three different areas when it comes to how long you're going to be out. You got OTR, which is going to be the one that everyone's familiar with. That driver is out for 2-3 weeks at a time. I did that for a while, and it was good. I got to see the country. I got to go across the Golden Gate Bridge. I got to go through the Rocky Mountains. I got to do some really cool stuff. Now, at the time, I didn't have a wife and 3 kids, so it was a little bit easier. Now that I have a wife and 3 kids, well, now I need something more local. So you have OTR, and then you have regional, which is going to be like, you think of like the Midwest region, or say you're on the East Coast, like the East Coast region. Typically, you're home a few nights a week. Typically, you're home maybe just on the weekends, but that's be more regional stuff. And then you have more local stuff. Now, most people are getting into more local type stuff. So whether that be your propane trucks, your logging trucks, your garbage trucks, sanitation trucks, your straight trucks, your food delivery trucks, most of that is going to be CDL. Even your school buses, your passenger buses, your motor coaches. That's all going to be CDL stuff. However, that's going to be local, home every night type jobs. And so it's whatever kind of works for you, kind of works for the industry. So you position yourself what you want to do and how often you want to be home, all that good stuff.
And so the magic word that we keep on saying is CDL. Let's break it down for some people that are kind of curious. What does CDL mean? And talk a little bit more about that license process.
Yeah, so CDL is your commercial driver's license. And there's 3 classes of your CDL: Class A, Class B, and Class C. And your CDL is a federal license. And so I'll talk about kind of the process to get it and stuff in a minute, but it's a hard license to get. But once you have it, it allows you to drive the heaviest vehicles that you can legally drive on the public roads here in America. So your Class A is going to be the big one. That's going to be one here at the school that we train more Class A than the other classes. And that's going to be your tractor trailer. So any tractor trailer going down the road is going to be a Class A CDL. So the question is now, what about Class B? So Class B is going to be one step down, still a commercial driver's license, Class B, but all your straight vehicles. Now, like the legal definition is a vehicle that's 26,001 pounds or more with a gross vehicle weight rating, and talking about it, and it's labeled as a heavy straight vehicle. And so your school buses a lot of times will fall into a Class B CDL. Your propane trucks, your sanitation trucks, your dump trucks, all the straight heavy vehicles is going to be classified in the Class B, calling that B category. And then you have your Class C CDL, which technical definition is doesn't meet definition of Class A or Class B CDL, but carries a placardable amount of hazardous materials or transports 16 or more passengers. And so the best example I can give there would be like the little Head Start school buses, kind of like your short buses. Those are not going to peak that 26,001 pounds to like most buses would to qualify it as a Class B vehicle, but it's a Class C because it requires it's going to carry 16 or more passengers. And so each class is going to have a set amount of time that you have to go to school for the most part. But once again, the Class A CDL is going to be by far the most popular. And once you have your A, you have your B and your C. So even, we get a lot of students that are going to be driving just a dump truck or a sanitation truck or a propane truck. They're going to get their A because if they want to maybe change careers later on or switch trucking companies or whatever, they have that top dog license. And then by having an A, you have a B and you have a C as well.
Okay, perfect. Because that was my follow-up question too. I was like, if you get the A, is everything else umbrellaed in, or do you have to go back and forth? So it sounds like the A is the best bet because you can do a lot of
it is, yeah. And also it kind of opens up more opportunities and makes you more versatile as a driver, where you can look for A jobs, Class A jobs, Class B jobs, and Class C jobs. You can look for them all. If you just have your B or C, you're a little bit more limited. So one thing that we kind of encourage, well, just to keep your options open, you go with your A, and that allows you to drive all types of CDL vehicles.
Mm-hmm. And can you tell us a little bit about like that process to obtaining it? So the classes that you have to take, is there a test? Do you have to also like re-up on a licensure every?
Yeah, so it's kind of an arduous process, and it's gotten more and more difficult over the last, I would say, 8 to 12 years. So essentially, there's you got to meet certain qualifications before you can even get a CDL, or make sure you're eligible to get a CDL. So one of them is you got to be able to pass a drug test, and so that's one thing. You see more and more states that are legalizing marijuana, which regardless how you feel about it, it's still federally illegal. And so we got to tell our students, hey, you got to be able to pass a DOT drug screen. And that's the first day of class. If you can't pass that, you're not going to be successful in this industry. So even just to go through the school, you got to pass a DOT drug test. And then typically you're in the random pool, and you could get pulled once a quarter, you get pulled once a year. It just depends. In every company you go to, you're going to get drug tested. And so that's just an important standard that you got to have. The other one is you got to have a relatively clean driving record. So you can't have any disqualifying suspensions on your license. You can't have too many tickets and different things.
Should be important, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. And for Holland, so I'm curious, Cami, I'm going to put you on the spot. How heavy is your typical Class A CDL tractor trailer? Any idea?
Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea. Honestly, when I think of like a tractor trailer, it's, over thousands, because I just even know when I'm driving behind them or beside them, like I need to get out the way. So I can't even.
So your typical tractor trailer is going to be going down the road at 80,000 pounds. Right. So that's heavy. And so your personal vehicle is probably 2 or 3, maybe 4,000 pounds. So it's like putting 30, 40 of your personal vehicles and stacking them on top of each other, and then putting that one driver behind the wheel of that combination unit. So these are really, really heavy vehicles. And that's why there's schools like Midwest, and there's schools like this across the country. So there's a lot of different schools, a lot of great schools across the country. But it's just important to recognize that's why their schools exist, is to teach people how to go through this. So once again, got to pass drug test. You gotta have no disqualifying suspensions in the last few years. So you really can't have too many tickets or different things on your record. And then the other thing, you got to be able to pass a DOT physical. And so anybody that wants to get a CDL, you have to have a DOT physical. And what that is, it's not like a normal physical that you think of if you go through like an annual or biannual checkup or whatnot. They're going to be looking at your heart, they're going to be looking at your lungs, they're going to be looking at how healthy you are. They want to make sure you're not going to keel over going down the road, all right? Because you're driving the heaviest vehicles out there, so they want to see medically that you are in halfway decent shape. So if you can't get a DOT physical, what they call a medical card, you're not going to be eligible to get a CDL. All right. So that's really important. So taking care of your health is important, and maybe working on some of those maybe bad habits and different things. So those are kind of like the few big things. From there, once you get enrolled into a truck driving school, well, then you're going to have many different tests. And so you have your permit test, what it takes to get your commercial learner's permit. Then you have your ELDT, which is our entry-level driver training test, to make sure that you have a strong foundation as far as like the book work, the theory part of the trucking industry. And then you have all the behind the wheel. And so you have behind the wheel training for the range, behind the wheel training for road, which means you have all your pre-trips that you're going to be doing, pre-trip, en route, post-trip inspections. You have your yard maneuvers, and so there's so many different yard maneuvers that you're going to know how to do. Just to name a couple, you have your alley dock, you have your blindside alley dock, you have your offset, you have your blindside offset, you got your straight line back, you got your 45, you got your parallel parking. I mean, there's so many different things that you've got to be proficient in to graduate the program. So after you go through all that, and you got your permit test and everything else, at the end of the course, that's when you actually test it to get your CDL. So I don't know how like the driver's test exactly where you're at, but I know a CDL test across the country is going to be pretty much the same, where you actually show up and you have to do a pre-trip for a state examiner. Then you have to do all these different yard maneuvers and show them that you can do them effectively and within a certain time frame. And then you actually hit the road and you take a 15, 20 mile loop in a CDL vehicle, and they're going to make sure that you can drive these things safely and that you meet these different qualifications. And so it's kind of an arduous process, and there's a lot going on with it, but that's what schools are for, is to get you from here to there and guide you every step of the way. It's kind of like driver's ed. Now, did you go through driver's ed?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
It was
So,
already, it was already nerve-wracking.
Yeah, most people driver's ed. It's kind of like driver's ed, but for semi-trucks. You know what? You start with theory, you start with book work, classroom, you get into the yard, you actually start driving, you do pre-trips and yard maneuvers, then you actually hit the road and with other people, and you learn how to drive these things, and you learn how to shift these things. A lot of these are non-synchronized manual transmissions. So that's a huge part. A lot of people don't even have regular synchronized manual transmissions in their personal vehicles nowadays. Pretty much all personal vehicles are automatics, but a lot of trucks today are still non-synchronized manual transmissions. And so learning how to shift these things is a big part of driving them effectively.
Wow, that's a big fact right there. Yeah, that's really good to know. And then I can't even imagine like thinking about roundabouts, even doing that, then with a big truck. Oh my goodness! But
these things take up a lot of space on the road. I mean, these things are semi trucks and trailers are longer, they're wider, they're taller, and they're heavier than any other vehicle on the road. And so, roundabouts, there's actually what I call roundabout day, and we go to a bigger city about 60 miles away that has a bunch of roundabouts. They have single lane roundabouts, double lane roundabouts, roundabouts with gores, roundabouts without gores, and we teach how to maneuver this truck and trailer through the roundabout, how to line yourself up, what you're looking at. So it's one of those things. I mean, some people have a hard time in their personal vehicles navigating roundabouts, let alone a truck with a 53-foot trailer on the back.
Yeah. So you definitely mentioned a lot about like what the classes will entail, like a lot of the theory, the studying for the certification, the examining pre versus post. How long does it take from like start to finish to get your CDL license?
Yeah, so the Class A course is what most truck driving schools specialize in, and that's going to be like the most popular, prevalent course here, as well as other schools across the country. And those courses can anywhere from 3 weeks to 3 months long. And it depends on how they're set up. So here at the school, our course is about 5 weeks long. And you might say, well, how do you do it in 5 weeks? Well, these guys and gals train for 8 hours a day. And so it's very kind of an intense course. It's called vocational education, but it's designed to get you in and out with the skills and core competencies that you need to be successful in the industry. And so you're focusing 100% on getting your CDL. And so it's Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., half hour for lunch in the middle. And we're nailing from the theory to the book work, to maps and ELDs and trip planning and map reading and how to fill out a logbook to the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations. Then we get out in the yard and we start doing pre-trips and in-route inspections and post-trip inspections. And then we get out and start doing all these different maneuvers and learning how to shift and learning how to back and learning how to use our mirrors, learning about all the different mirrors. We have West Coast mirrors and fisheye mirrors and convex mirrors and blind spot mirrors. And then we hit the road, learning how to shift and everything else. And so it's one of those things that typically there is some work that you got to do prior. Like typically before you come to school, you got to get that DOT physical done. You got to get that drug screen done. You're going to have some kind of homework to get you ready for the course, as far as different things to start studying up for. And so, and then after you get through the course, typically you have a month of training every single day, and then you test into that 5th week, assuming you're proficient at all the different things. So it's an intense process. It's not an easy course. It's a rigorous course. There's a lot of people. The majority of people do succeed at it, but there's of course a handful of people that don't make it through and don't get it or don't pick it up, and that happens as well. It's not terribly common, but it definitely does happen. And it's one of those things that kind of that conversation looks like, well, you know what? I went to school originally for pre-law. All right. I wanted to be a lawyer. Well, that didn't end up working out. That wasn't for me. Not everyone's meant to be a lawyer. Not everyone's meant to be a doctor, and not everyone's meant to be a truck driver. And that's okay. Part of it is kind of finding your passion, what you like to do. Some people get out in the industry after they do get a CDL and they find out they don't like driving. Well, if you don't like driving, I don't know if this is a good career for you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, Kemi. All right. So it is one of those things. But you know what? At the same time, we work with a lot of students that love this career. They like what they do. And of course, the financial aspect of it is big as well. I mean, you see companies advertising, 55, 65 grand a year. And a lot of people call and say, you're telling me I can make 60 grand a year after taking just over a month-long course? And the answer is yes. And they said, well, I know guys that got their bachelor's degree and they're not making that much. And that's also true. And so yeah, it's one of those things that we see a lot of people that are like, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, or I'm doing this minimum wage job. And I just, what? At the end of the day, I think we all want to kind of do better in life, right? And so you see this opportunity, it's like, wow. Now it's not easy. You got to work for it, and you got to be committed to it. But it's very doable, and we have hundreds of students a year that do it and are successful at it. So there is some great opportunities, and that's the other thing. If you look on like the different job postings and different things, but you're going to see more jobs under transportation requiring a CDL than almost any other category. I mean, there's so many jobs, and like I said, don't take my word for it. Check it out. You go into Google Jobs and just say, all right, Class A CDL jobs, and boom, 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 boom. There's going to be tons of them that show up, because getting a CDL is hard. Keeping a CDL is hard. Like I talked about, you got to have a clean driving record. You got to be able to pass a drug test. You got to be able to have a good driving record. You got to get through the course. You got to do all these different things. And even though it only takes a couple months, a lot of people aren't even qualified. If you have a DUI in the last 3 years, you're not qualified to get a CDL. If you got too many traffic tickets or speeding tickets, you're not qualified to get a CDL. If you're not healthy and can pass a DOT physical, you're not going to get a CDL. And so all of a sudden you look look at this and say, wow, okay, so only so many people are even eligible to get a CDL, and then you got to go through the class and the course and pass a final state test. So it's not an easy process. Is it a rewarding one? Is it an exciting one? Is it something with a lot of great opportunity? Absolutely, but that doesn't mean it's easy.
Mm-hmm. And I know you were talking about like the different, like your company can randomly drug test you, and you can but also is there like a renewal of your license that you have to undertake every year? I'm not sure if you mentioned that. And do you also
Yeah,
go through those physicals like every once in a while as well?
yeah, so your DOT physicals are going to be every year if you maybe are, so typically you only get a 1 year, 2 year medical card. And so if you say have high blood pressure, or maybe you're a smoker or something like that, chances are but everything else is healthy, you may only get a 1 year card. So you would have to go back every single year to get another DOT physical. Now, I like to think I'm relatively healthy, so I get 2 year cards, and 2 years is the maximum you can get. And that means every 2 years I got to go back, get another DOT physical, and then I make sure everything is kind of healthy, and I'm good, for that 2 year card. From there, you renew your CDL license the same time you renew your regular driver's license. And so you don't have like two licenses. It's just one license. You renew that license. Here in Michigan, we got to renew it every 4 years, but I know some states are 5 years, some states are 6 years. So it just depends on your state. And then typically that's going to be a $50, $60 just renewal fee. But you don't have to go through any additional training or anything like that, just as a CDL driver. Now, as an instructor, I need to do annual continuing education credits where I need to do so much continual training and everything, but that's to be a teacher of the CDL side of things. Just a regular CDL driver, no, that's not required. Once you have your CDL, you have it, as long as you don't get too many tickets, don't get any DUIs, maintain your health, and be able to keep passing those drug tests, because they can drug test you at any time. That's just a part of this industry. So that's important for people to know, hey, these are the requirements to be successful in this industry. So these are just all important things.
Now, I know that there's different types of, since you broke it down so much, there's so many different types of things that you can do with the CDL. I'm not even sure how I could adequately ask this next question of like, what would a day-to-day kind of typically look like? I don't even know if there's like a basic standard for it, or it's so different.
It's truly all over the place. I mean, if you asked any 100 people what your typical day is like, you might get some similarities. Like I said, I mean, I know, for instance, I know some over the road guys that love to travel in the middle of the night. So they work from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Now, that's not terribly common. I mean, you do see it, and that's more of by choice. Excuse me. But I would say the average driver's up by 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and they're typically trucking by 6:37 in the morning. Typically being able to get your pre-trip done in the morning and get on the road early. Those first couple hours are nice because there's not a lot of traffic on the road. And so most CDL drivers are kind of going to be kind of relatively early morning risers that way. And then typically truck drivers are going to work anywhere from 8 to 11 hours a day. And so that's going to be pretty common for like local stuff. Now, over the road, it's not uncommon for a driver to work up to 14 hours a day. And that way they're behind that wheel, and they're driving for the majority of the day. Depending on, it seems like a lot of our students over the last few years are doing more local type stuff, where they're straight truck or propane or sanitation or dump truck. And so dump truck seems to be really, really popular here. And so you might have 4, 5, 6 loads a day where we're picking up a load of 22A road gravel to bring it to this road commission today. And then we're picking up some riprap for the railroad and bring it to this set of train tracks. And then a guy wants some topsoil delivered to his yard to be able to plant some grass. And so you're just picking up, dropping off, a lot of stop and go, different things like that. But I will tell you, there's so many different divisions of trucking. It just depends. I mean, you look at some of the OTR guys that are hauling dry van, that are hauling, food commodities or paper commodities or beer or water or anything like that. Well, they might be going from New York to California, and that's going to take 3 days to get there. And so they're not going to be making one stop for 3 days till they deliver that load. But they'll be stopping in different truck stops along the way. That's they're going to be sleeping in their trucks, and that's how kind of over the road has gotten quite a bit easier nowadays. And the fact that
OTR means over the road. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like OTR.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I apologize if I'm using any kind of trucking specific terminology. You need some clarification on, you let me know. But these trucks nowadays, your OTR trucks are kind of designed like little motorhomes. I mean, they have refrigerators, they have microwaves, they have big power inverters, they have TVs, and they have cable and satellite. They're pretty nice units. And so these guys and gals that are on the road, it's relatively comfortable. And so, say you're going to be out for a week at a time, you're going to go grocery shopping for your truck. What are you going to eat during the week? And a lot of drivers do eat out once in a while, but a lot of them will bring their own food to make sandwiches, and they can even grill out and just be able to save a few bucks that way, but also chances are you're going to be eating healthier if you can make your own food in the truck. And so it's one of those things you see all different kinds across the board. I mean, they say there's more than 200 different divisions of the trucking industry. And I mean by that, from you can haul dry van to dump truck to school bus to passenger bus to refrigerated trailer to tankers to drop deck to low boys to Conestogas, to hauling propane to hazmat, doubles, triples. There's just so many different things that are under the umbrella of having a CDL. You can kind of decide what you want to do. I know a guy that got a Dollar General run recently, and that's a driver unload run, which means you have to unload at every single stop. There's a little ramp that comes off the back of the trailer, and he said it was the best thing that ever happened to him because it forced him to work. And he said he lost 30 pounds, and he's like, man, if I'm not getting a workout, I'm getting paid to work out. And so, it's one of those things. A lot of drivers wouldn't like that. A lot of them just want to swing doors and back up into a dock, but it kind of depends on what you're looking for. Whatever you're looking for, there is a kind of a fit for you.
I really like that there's so many different options that I don't think people really consider. Because I think when I first think of a truck driver, I only think of the OTR, like the off the road. I always just think of those automatically versus, when you're seeing a lot of those like delivery trucks for the businesses that you're seeing so frequently. And I just like that there's a different variety of like, oh, I want to go far, or I want to stay local, which I think is really nice. So it provides people different opportunities that will match them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a big thing too, Kemi, is if you look around your room, everything that you see in your room in some way, shape, or form was brought to you on a truck, including your car. If you can look out your window and see your car was brought on a semi-truck. They're called car carriers, and they haul cars to all the dealerships and cars all over the country all the time. But it makes you appreciate even the food, the gas you put in your car was hauled on a truck. Your car itself was hauled on a truck. Every piece of food that you put in your mouth, whether it was fast food or apples, that was hauled on typically a refrigerated trailer, which was hauled on a truck. Everything you see was hauled on a truck. Well, somebody had to haul that. And so that's what logistics and the whole supply chain is all about. But drivers are a pivotal part of that supply chain. They're the ones that are out there every single day, making sure all the groceries are stocked, making sure there's gas in the fuel pumps. When you go to gas your car, it's like someone had to bring that gas there. Well, that truck driver does that. And so it is interesting. It makes you appreciate kind of what that CDL driver does, because it's not easy, number one, but they're the ones that kind of keep everything going kind of behind the scenes. You don't see it all that often.
And I think you've spoken a lot about like the different highlights that there are for having a career in this industry. What are some challenges that you see?
Yeah, so I'm not going to lie. This industry is a tough industry. If people want to get into it just because it's like, oh, there's a lot of money to be made and this is going to be easy. No, it's not going to be easy. Like I said, I think some of the challenges is, you get states like here in Michigan that legalize marijuana. and yet it's federally illegal. And so it kind of messes with people like, well, you're going to be drug tested for it. It's federally illegal. It's still federally classified as a Schedule I drug. And so it's important just for people to recognize that you can't touch the stuff in order to be successful in this industry. The other challenge is know that this is typically these guys and gals work relatively long hours. Some of them you're going to have a typical 8-hour day, but a lot of times it's going to be 9, 10, 11 hours. It's going to be longer days. The other thing is early morning starts. If you want a job that starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, probably not going to happen. Your job's probably going to start at 5, 6, or 7 o'clock in the morning. And so, being willing to wake up early and to make that happen, that's going to be part of it. And the other challenge is, maintaining your health, kind of working on some of those bad habits, maintaining a good driving record. Those are definitely challenges that are associated, in this industry. And the other thing is, just because you're going to school and everything else doesn't mean you're going to get it. This is, backing a semi truck and trailer is not for everybody. Even though we work with everybody and anybody, but some people just don't get it, and that's okay. But don't think it's going to be easy. If you're willing to work at it and keep putting one foot in front of the other, chances are you're going to be successful with it. But you got to understand that there's going to be some challenges. There's going to be some hurdles. And if you're willing to keep working through them, chances are you're going to be successful in this industry. We have many different guys and gals every single month that come here to get their CDL, and they're out there trucking, and they're very successful in this industry. But just know there's going to be some work that is going to entail you to be successful in this industry for sure.
What other advice would you give to someone who may be considering this industry?
You know what? The advice I would give is go for it. I was right out of high school. I was 18 years old. I didn't know nothing. I was immature. I was young and dumb and everything else. And I'll tell you what, somebody put this bug in my ear, and I said, yeah, we'll give it a go. And here I am 15 years later, and I'm still in this industry, and I contribute a lot of my success just in life to getting my CDL when I was 18 years old. So, of course, I'm going to be a proponent of this and a huge pusher of this because, my own success has come from getting a CDL. And so if you have an interest in this, chances are there's truck driving schools across the country, and there's a lot of great ones. But do your research, all right? Go to a good truck driving school that's got good reviews. Go on Google, check out the reviews. And you know what? I would say go for it. Go for it. The majority of people that get in this industry are successful with it. And I know it can be, and this is for guys and gals. Is it more of a male-dominated industry? Sure. But I'll tell you what, we train females all the time that are extremely successful in this industry. So, no matter who you are, if you have an interest in this industry, then by all means go for it. It would be my advice. And it's a great experience. It's a great job. It's a great career. It's something that you can literally get within a couple months, and you could be making literally 50, 60, 70 grand right out of school. There's not much else that you can do that. A lot of people with bachelor's degrees don't get that right after going to school 4 years. I mean, honestly, and so, my advice is do it, and you're not going to regret it. And a lot of these programs are anywhere from 5 to 7 grand. Sometimes, actually we're really like 4 to 7 grand. And so it's not like you're spending an arm and a leg to do this either. It's reasonable. I mean, I had close to $52,000 in student debt from Michigan State. All right. You're not going to even come close to that getting a CDL. So, and the average student that comes to this school, they pay off that debt within 3 months. Can you imagine paying off your student loans within 3 months?
I literally just paid off my student loans. It's been years since I graduated. So I'm
congratulations. I'll tell you what, if you got a little extra, you send it on over because Josh is Michigan State loan. So it's one of those things that was my bet. I made it, but it's one of those things that it's going to take a while to pay off, and I'm working at it and everything else. Yeah. Something like this, like I said, 3 months is our average student that pays off their debt to the school. 3 months. Mm-hmm. Well, even if you hate it, guess what? After 3 months, you can go do something different. At least you tried it. It's one of those things. There's really there's really no negative to it. There really isn't. And it's an exciting career. It's a career that I love and I'm passionate about. And so that's why when you message me, I'm like, you know what, I love this. Thanks for letting me be a part of it, because this is something I'm passionate about, and to be able to give young people kind of another option. There's a lot of different ways to be successful in life. This is a great trade, and it's a booming trade. It's an exciting trade, and yeah, I'm going to push it because I've seen the success that we've seen with so many students throughout the years.
And that's something that me and Kiki always go back, because me and my friend Kiki, who she's the other host of this podcast.
Oh yeah,
we met at a 4-year college, but when we always talk to people, we always like think back. We're like, man, I wish I would have went to a trade school first. Like we always say something like that.
Yeah, because you see some of their successes, and it's like, wow, that might not have been a bad idea. And so it's one of the things, and that's why I love to see what you're doing, because you're really kind of giving everybody, maybe showing everybody these opportunities that they might not have seen. And they might say, wow, this actually might be a good, viable option for me. And it doesn't have to be your career. Maybe it will be your career like me, but maybe it'll just be a good, viable job right now. And then to figure out what you want to do later. That's fine too. That's the beauty of life, is you can decide what you want to do.
Exactly. That's why I was really excited to have you come on too, so people could understand that there's this option out here that you may not be aware of or you might not know about, but here's also another option too.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about trade school, that's what we are. That's what the school is. We're a trade school and teach different trades, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that would be, especially the fact that they have a degree in undecided just drives me crazy, because it's like, what? Yeah. No, it's not a good fit for everybody. And you know what? This actually is something that when you come here, this is what you're doing and this is what you're going for. And I think people need to have more specificity with and goals with what they want to do and what they want to accomplish. But anyway, it's just one of those things. I got a lot of passion for this industry because I've seen the success that it has. I mean, the school works with a lot of veterans, a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people out of prison that had nothing, that came here and were successful. People that were living in their friend's front yard in a cardboard box. I've seen it. And they've graduated and are successful. So it's one of those things. I've seen this industry lift a lot of people up and take a lot of people from where they were to bettering their life. And so it's one of those things. I'm very passionate about it because of that.
Yeah. And Midwest, as you mentioned before, is a trade school. So I know I was looking on the website as well that I know you do CDL, but what other offerings do you have as well? And can you just share some of the contact information about Midwest if anyone is interested?
Absolutely. So Midwest Truck Driving School is there's a big umbrella. So the trade school is Midwest Truck Driving School, and then North Country Electrical Line and Heavy Equipment School. So Midwest Truck Driving School does your Class A CDL training, Class B CDL training, Class C CDL training, school bus passenger endorsement training, all that good stuff. And then North Country Electrical Line and Heavy Equipment School, their programs include heavy equipment operator programs, so what it takes to actually operate heavy equipment, as well as a lineman school. And so that program's like 5 months, and that's a long program, but that you get your lineman certificate, and then you get into the IBEW. You actually get into an apprenticeship program upon completion, and so that's a great program as well. That's another great trade that's really booming too. A little bit longer commitment to get into that, but still another great trade. And yeah, if people want more information on the school, check out our website, MidwestTruckDrivingSchool.com. Give us a call, 906-789-6311. We're very active on social media, so you can check out our Facebook page and different things. And it's one of those things, or just Google Midwest Truck Driving School, and we're going to be at the top of the list.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Josh, just for taking your time out just to share this career opportunity and just another option for those who are maybe even coming out of high school, or maybe they are in college, or maybe they want to pivot and make a change to a better career. Like, here is an option that people are now aware of. So thank you for coming on and sharing that information. And thank you to our listeners out there. And I hope you really took away some great knowledge from this episode. I know I did. I learned so much that I had no idea about CDL and truck drivers and just the variety that was out there. I wish I would have known this earlier. But we thank you all for listening. Make sure to check out Midwest. Make sure to also check out our social media outlets. Everything will be linked into the show notes. But until then, we will see you in the next one. See you. Bye. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and listening to the latest episode of Your Advisors Will See You Now. Please make sure to follow us on all of our social media pages and check out our website. Take a look at the show notes below.
And please make sure to subscribe and share this podcast. Also, show us some love and please leave a 5-star review. Catch you next time.
See ya.